Here we go. Oh yeah.
Breed-specific legislation, a law that bans or restricts certain types of dogs based on their appearance, wrongly separates innocent pit bulls from their loving families and homes every day because of a bigoted stigma and a falsely informed media. There are two different forms of BSL, bans and restrictions. A breed ban usually requires that all dogs of a certain appearance be removed from the municipality wherein the ban has been implemented. After the effective date of the ban, dogs in the municipality that are identified as targeted breeds are usually subject to being killed by animal control. Breed-specific restrictions may require an owner of a targeted breed to submit their dog to certain restrictive measures, depending on how the law is written. These include muzzling the dog in public, spaying or neutering, confining the dog in a kennel or on a leash, purchasing liability insurance, or placing vicious dog signs on the resident of the dog or on the dog itself. BSL laws often restrict or ban Rottweilers, Dobermans, and Boxers, but the most common victims are pit bulls. Dogs are often incorrectly classified as pit bulls because of a blocky head or stocky structure. This furthers the media's misrepresentation of the breed because pit bulls are often blamed for acts of violence that was actually committed by some other breed. By generalizing the behaviors of dogs that look a certain way, innocent dogs suffer and may even be euthanized without evidence that they pose a threat. Responsible dog owners are forced to give up their dogs or move. Cities and states spend money enforcing restrictions and bans instead of putting that money to better use, such as establishing and strictly enforcing licensing and leash laws or responding proactively to target owners of any dog that poses a risk to the community. In July of 2016, Hank was seized from his home in Belfast, Northern Ireland by 8 police officers in a search warrant. When the police discovered that the owners weren't home, they took the dog and left only a note for the owners to come home to. Hank was tragically stolen from his home because he was reported by a neighbor as a pit bull, and Belfast has a ban regarding pit bull type dogs. It took a massive public outcry, headlines that spanned the globe, and an online petition that garnered nearly 300,000 signatures to finally reunite Hank with his loving family. Around the same time, Sir Wiggleton was adopted from Detroit Dog Rescue after nearly 100 days in the shelter. Shortly after adopting this lovable goofball, his owners were confronted by Waterford Township police, who told them their new dog wasn't allowed in the township because he looks like a pit bull, and thus violates a long-standing ordinance banning pit bulls and pit bull mixes. Some cities in Missouri that enforce bans on pit bulls are Cameron, Lathrop, Liberty, Platte City, Savana, Mound City, and Trenton. Other cities such as Kansas City, Chillicothe, Gladstone, and St. Joseph require mandatory sterilization or have declared pit bulls as dangerous or vicious. An article was released on April 18th of 2016 by the Columbia Daily Tribune that stated, Missouri cities no longer could ban pit bulls or impose certain rules on certain dog breeds. This bill, which passed 117 to 17 out of the House, would allow local governments to adopt bans on unleashed dogs or pass other general regulations, but cities could not single out specific breeds, such as pit bulls. Pit bull advocates unanimously agree that in most cases the pit bull is not to blame, it is the owner. Republican Representative Ron Hicks, who is behind the bill, said, "It's time to muzzle municipalities from targeting dogs that unfairly receive a bad rap." Pit bulls shouldn't be taken from their families and homes just because they look a certain way or some people think a certain way about the breed. Pit bulls are often banned or restricted solely because of the negative stigma associated with them or the way that the media falsely represents them. This is unfair and needs to stop. Many people are working diligently to restore the breed's image to its rightful place as an American tradition, but even the most responsible owners still struggle to keep their pits safe from discrimination and harm. Pit bulls have struggled with a negative stigma since the 1900s, but if one were to truly research and get to know this breed, one would be able to see through the unforgiving myths. The American Temperament Testing Society puts thousands of dogs through their tests each year. The dogs are tested for skittishness, aggression, and their ability to differentiate between threatening and non-threatening humans. Pit Bull showed an above-average temperament, coming in at an 86% passing rate. They are the second most tolerant breed tested by the ATTS, placing just after the Golden Retriever. Breeds that scored lower than the Pit Bull include the Beagle, Border Collie, Dalmatian, and Toy Poodle. Pit Bulls were originally bred to bait bulls. Then they evolved to become an all-around farm dog, and eventually developed the nickname nanny dogs because of their gentle demeanor and their loyalty to the family. A typical Pit Bull is a dependable, trustworthy, and loyal companion. Known for their sound character, friendliness, and drive to work, this breed makes an ideal companion to have around the house with or without children. They can also be entrusted to work on the farm or to improve society, working along the community in search and rescue, as bomb and drug detection dogs, or as therapy dogs in hospitals and children's literacy programs. In early America, Pit Bulls were valued for much more than their fighting abilities. They were entrusted to protect homesteads from predators, and they worked as vital helpers on family farms. As a working dog, they assumed the role of herding cattle and sheep, and they served as faithful guardians, protecting family and livestock from the ever-present threat of thieves and wild animals. Although in recent years some individuals have misused the breed and the media has misrepresented it, aggression never was and still is not what the Pit Bull is about. There are numerous studies showing that breed-specific legislation laws do not result in any decrease whatsoever in serious dog bites. Instead, these laws often result in beloved family pets with no history of behavioral problems being forced to be rehomed, sheltered, or euthanized. According to the American Pit Bull Foundation, these laws have been proven ineffective for the obvious reasons that they fundamentally misdiagnose the causes of serious dog bites, focusing on breeds rather than the interactions between dogs and humans. With all this said, the solution starts with you. There are many problems associated with enforcing breed-specific legislation. One of the main problems is that no special training in breed identification is required to determine whether or not a dog falls under the category of banned or restricted. A city manager, mayor, or animal control officer has the authority to make this call based solely on their own opinion. Some jurisdictions have passed BSL legislation with no input from a veterinarian or the people who would be affected. If your city enforces BSL bans or restrictions, it's time to be a voice for those who don't have one. The National Canine Research Council identified the most common factors found in fatal dog attacks. 97% of the dogs involved were not spayed or neutered. 84% of the attacks involved owners who had abused or neglected, failed to contain, or failed to properly chain their dogs. And 78% of the dogs were not kept as pets, but as guard, breeding, or yard dogs. Lowering these statistics starts with being a responsible owner. Spay or neuter any pets you have, and advocate spaying or neutering to your friends as well. Properly socialize, train, and care for your dog to ensure that it learns respect and proper etiquette at a young age. Avoid chaining or caging your dog at all costs, as under-socialization often leads to an aggressive dog that would have otherwise been a loving family member. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals has formed a breed-neutral approach that holds owners accountable for violence, not the type of dog. Some of these include enhanced enforcement of dog license laws, increased availability to low-cost spaying and neutering services, dangerous dog laws that are breed-neutral and focus on the behavior of the individual guardian and dog, laws that hold dog owners financially accountable for failure to adhere to animal control laws, and laws that prohibit chaining, tethering, and unreasonable confinement, coupled with enhanced enforcement of animal cruelty and animal fighting laws. To make a difference, you could write a petition or a proposal for your city legislation to review about adopting laws such as this that are breed neutral and hold the owner accountable for neglecting or not caring properly for their dog. If the jurisdiction agrees with and accepts your proposal, they can work to pass a bill to uplift breed-specific legislation laws in your area. Another option towards eliminating breed-specific legislation is to visit www.change.org and search breed-specific legislation. Here, you can review thousands of petitions and sign one that you can advocate for, or write your own petition. Today, not in the news, an estimated 3.5 million pit bulls did nothing but love their family. Together, we can make sure that these pit bulls are allowed to keep loving their families, no matter what they look like or where they live.
Come on back. That's my